Having spoken about Ebola, though, it's important to realize that this is happening against a background of illness and death which really dwarfs even the tragic toll that we have seen in the countries where Ebola is now present. And this is something that we have known about for a long time, and although we have not been completely inactive, we have not, I think, lived up to the obligations of our global ethic. We are living in a world in which it's obvious that there is very considerable affluence in this country and many other countries, and affluent classes in other countries like China and India as well. And yet there is extreme poverty. There is extreme poverty that affects about, according to the World Bank, 1.2 billion people. One indication of the ongoing effects of extreme poverty are the number of children who die before their 5th birthday as a result of these diseases and of lack of sanitation and safe drinking water. The most recent figure in the most recent report issued by UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Foundation, just came out last month, is 6.3 million children die before they reach their 5th birthday from poverty-related causes. That comes out at about 17,000 children a day. So that's why I say this dwarfs the Ebola outbreak. But this is preventable, and in fact, we have been moderately successful in preventing it over the last couple of decades. In 2009, I published a book called The Life You Can Save. In that book, I discussed the problem of global poverty and child mortality. And the figure that appeared in the original hardback edition of that book was 9.8 million children dying each year. So in quite a short space of time, I suppose I was probably using the 2008 figure when the book went to press, in quite a short space of time, let's say 6 years, we have cut the death rate by about a third, or slightly more than a third. So aid in this area has been effective. You sometimes get skeptics about aid saying the money doesn't reach the people who need it, the countries are corrupt, it's like pouring money down a black hole. This is not true. Of course, I'm not saying that aid is never wasted. In any large human enterprise, there will be corruption. There will be waste. But the effect of this is so important that even if it's true that not every penny that we give gets the people who need it, what it is doing much more good than it would do if we were to retain it. So we have been very successful in immunising more children against measles, so that the number of deaths of measles has now fallen to under 1 million, quite dramatic progress in a few years. The distribution of bed nets to prevent malaria has helped cut the death rate from malaria. The provision of clean drinking water has reduced the incidence of diarrhea, and the distribution of a very simple mix of salts and instructions to people how to use it enables rehydration of children with diarrhea, where dehydration is often the principal cause of death. So these are very simple solutions, very inexpensive solutions that make a big difference. If we ask the question, how can we do the most good? One answer to that is by supporting efforts to reach the world's poorest people and focusing our attention on them rather than on more local causes which often tempt us. You will be aware, if you are not spending the summer and early fall somewhere on a remote mountaintop, you will be aware of the Ice Bucket Challenge, which led to many millions, I think it's ended up over $40 million, being donated to an organisation trying to combat ALS, known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Now, it's good that people are stimulated to think about charity and to give to charity, but this was not really the most effective thing to do if you are giving to charity. This is a relatively rare disease that affects a small number of people. It's one that we don't really know how to prevent or cure. Of course, we can do more research on that, but whether that research will or will not be successful, even if we throw $40 million towards it, is something that nobody knows. But with $40 million, there's no doubt that we could save a large number of lives by increasing immunisation against measles, distributing more bed nets against malaria. So global poverty, I think, is one issue which really calls for a global ethic and an approach where we are less narrowly centred.